Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Exploring Brain and Mind. My guest today is the lovely Linda Bretherton. She has over 40 years of experience in Ayurveda and holistic medicine and is an Ayurveda Master Trainer. And I think you have a different name as well, Linda, don't you?
Well, that's right, Elke, I do. I was trained in a Vedic monastery. Now it will be about 30 years ago-ish. I did Ayurveda before that, but then I decided to go to a Vedic monastery and learn the really authentic grassroots of Ayurveda. And in that monastery, the Swamini, which is the head of the monastery, gives each student a Vedic Sanskrit name. And she gave me the name of Vani, V-A-N-I, and it means the goddess of eloquence, the goddess of communication. And so that's my other name, and many people know me as either Linda or Vani.
All right. That's an interesting story to hear where the name actually comes from and what it means. That's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't say welcome, but I welcome you to the episode.
Thank you.
So how did you get into Ayurveda? What made you want to learn about it?
Well, it's an interesting story, and I think it will fascinate people that are listening, because it was a long time ago. And in those days, we didn't talk about synchronicity. We didn't talk about the law of attraction. We didn't talk about those things then. I'm 74, and I've been doing this work long before the things like The Secret came out. And I was really fortunate enough to work with some of the great leaders now of our time, when they were having little workshops in their gardens, and they had a dozen people sat around listening. So I was fortunate to be in that arena, because of course Deepak Chopra is a massive multi-book author and incredibly well known. Well, when I met him 30 years ago, we sat in the garden of his clinic, and there were 12 of us talking to him, sat next to us. Well, you would never get that now. You're talking thousands of people sitting in an auditorium somewhere.
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
was, that was the same for Neil Donald Walsh of Conversations with God. I did a lot of training with him in his very, very early days. And the same with, sorry?
I've got goosebumps now. You mentioned Neil Donald Walsh as well, because I've got some conversations with God books, and really like them. Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's fine. But that's but we knew them, and we would sit with them and talk and cry with these people long before they became incredibly famous. And the same with Wayne Dyer, who unfortunately is now dead. But these meetings were wonderful and intimate. And I had had a really interesting awakening when I was 43-ish, and it was that turned me to look for Ayurveda. But the synchronicities that happened was I was invited to America to do a talk on what I'd learned and my awakening and my thought processes. And it was a 3-day kind of conference thing that I was invited to talk to. And I thought, why would I go all the way to America for 3 days? I'm going to explore a little bit more. I'm going to stay. So I thought about it and decided to go to the Chopra Center, which was another flight away from where I was at the time. But I thought, if I'm going to be there, I might as well make the most of it. So I booked to go to the Chopra Center. I'd heard about Deepak. He was absolutely not as well known. We're talking 30 years ago, and 30 plus. And so I went to this conference and I did my talk there. And when I did my talk, a lady who became a great friend of mine later, a lady called Lisa, came over to me and said, "Oh, I think it'd be great if we did some work together and we did stuff together. Let's share addresses, emails and things like that." And of course, there was no smartphones like you've got now, where you could take photos of the venue and record it and things like that. You needed a BBC recording studio to come in and do something.
Or a video camera or something like that, like the old camcorders used to be.
Yeah, exactly. So there was no recording. There was no being able to keep these things like you do now. So we exchanged addresses. And of course, in those days, your computer in your office was one of these great big square clunky computers, you know. And when you went online, you had to wait for the sound that went zoom, moo, 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 and then you hit it because it then connected. So, you know, I'm really showing my age, but wanting to make it clear that nowadays the access to this kind of work is phenomenal. In those days, you had to get on an aeroplane to see anybody that you were really, really interested in. Now it's all online. So I booked to go to the Chopra Center and was absolutely fascinated by what Deepak had said and was really interested. And then I flew back, and on my way back from that event, I picked up a book. I found a book at the airport, which I thought, oh, this is interesting. And it was one of the books that my Swamini, not then, but later on had written. And I picked it up and I thought, oh, I'm going to have a look at that. So I read it on the plane and thought it was fascinating and that kind of thing. And then, like many things, you put it down and forget about it. And then a couple of months later, I was working with Debbie Ford of the Ford Institute, and bless her, she's also dead now. And she did what again now is quite popular. She did the very first spiritual week workshop on a cruise ship.
Okay.
So she booked the cruise ship, and what her philosophy was, if you're on a ship, you can't get away.
Yes. No excuses.
No excuses. So I'd been working with Debbie Ford for a long time, and she incidentally was also in the same place as Deepak Chopra at the time, which was in La Jolla in Los Angeles. And so I went on the cruise, and on the cruise, I mean, I've missed lots out, but I'm trying to keep it short for everybody. But on the cruise, I was approached by a man who said, I hope you don't mind, but I really would like to get to know you. I've seen you coming in every day to the dining room, and I've spoken to my wife, and she said, just go over and introduce yourself. So I thought that was funny and interesting. And we sat down and had dinner together. And he said, I don't know why I need to meet you and get to know you. I just have this feeling that when we came into the dining room, and I'm no different from anybody else. I didn't look striking or anything. And then I would have been 40-ish, 45-ish. So he said, I don't know what it was. There was an aura, and I thought I needed to speak to you. So that was that. We had, we became friends on the cruise ship, which was for 7 days. And then when we left, he said, I'll take your email and you take mine. And I gave him my office email number, because even though I felt it was genuine, I still thought it was all a bit strange.
Yeah.
So that was on the cruise. Then a couple of weeks later, I am at home and I pick up this Ayurveda book that I'd got on the trip back from Deepak Chopra at the airport. I picked it up and I was reading it, and I thought, oh, I really want to go. I really want to go to this monastery. So I go to the back of the book, and it says where it is, but there's no email. We didn't have them like we do now.
Yeah.
There was no email, and there was also no phone number, and you were invited to write in. And
normal post.
Yeah, exactly. And in America. And this was in late October, mid-November-ish. And in the book, it said that the next workshop was December the 5th or something like that, really close. So I was going, oh, God, I'll never get a letter to them in time, and it'll never, and you have to answer questions and all that kind of thing.
Right.
And I was scrolling through trying to sort out what to do, and my phone rang, and it was my business partner in the office over in Manchester, because we had an office there. And he rang me and said, you remember that chap you talked about that you met on the cruise ship? And I said, oh, yeah, Dave. He said, well, he's emailed you on the office email, which I'd given to Dave. And I said, oh, Jim, I've no time I'm not bothered about that. I'm trying to sort out going to that monastery, that book I told you about. And he said, well, they must have a phone number. And I said, no, they've not. You've got to write in. And the next course is in December, and I want to go. And he said, well, where is it? And I said, in America. And he said, no, where in America? And I said, it's in North Carolina, in the foothills of the Pisgah Mountains. It's a monastery in the foothills of North Carolina. And he'd stopped. And I said, what's the matter? Let me get on with it. And he said, Linda, where is it in North Carolina? And I said, it's in the foothills of the mountains in North Carolina, in Asheville. And he said, Linda, that's where Dave lives.
Talking synchronicities.
Because his address was at the bottom of his email. So I said, oh my God. So I immediately emailed Dave back and said I wanted to go to this. And he said, Linda, that monastery is round the corner from where I live.
Amazing.
He said, I'll go, which he did. And he spoke to the Vedic monks there, and they said, we have got one place, tell your lady to come. So 3 weeks later, I was on a plane being met by Dave and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And that started my journey in Ayurveda in a monastery in Asheville in North Carolina. That monastery is closed now.
Mm-hmm.
My Swamini is retired.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't do the work anymore. She does bits online, but not much. And there you go, 4 years of back and to. So I would stay for 3 months and do some intensive training. Then I would come back to England and then go back and do another over 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm. That's quite a long time going back and forth as well.
Well,
And then always like really intense trainings. 3 months is pretty intense, isn't it?
well, yeah, but Ayurveda is like becoming a doctor. It's a very, very, it's not, you can't go for a weekend.
Yeah.
It's if you want to know about Ayurveda and know about the healing properties and know about the philosophy, it's 7 years. I mean, I'm still learning anyway. Even after all this time, I'm still learning. I still have my Ayurveda training books that I work with and remind myself about, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it is like a whole system though, isn't it? I remember you saying at some point it's a whole system. It's not just
Well,
like one certain area. It like encompasses more than one area, doesn't it?
well,
Of
absolutely. Ayurveda itself, the word Ayurveda, it's all one word, but it's a Sanskrit word.
Mhm.
Ayur means science, and Veda means life.
Mhm.
So the word means the science of life, the science of living. So it's about everything that we do. And it's, most people already know that they should be whole, they should eat correctly, they should do inner work, they should meditate, they should do exercise, they should have a social life, they should have good relationships. Everybody knows that a holistic life is to encompass all of those things. Everybody
Mm.
knows it intellectually. But what happens is that they look for what's going to fix something
Yeah.
now. What's going to fix a problem, what's going to fix a physical problem, what's going to fix an emotional problem. And they look to that now. So they turn to many, many different modalities, and each one does something okay. They feel a bit better, but then they get fed up because it's not continuing, and then they go to another one, they get fed up of that. But everybody generally in this industry knows that to be vital, healthy, well of mind, body, and soul, we need to encompass all of these things. Well,
Yeah.
everybody knows that intellectually, but people putting it into practice is people are not sure what to do, or they're lazy, or they have underlying belief systems. There's all sorts of things. And generally, to be really clear, I would say that nowadays it is the massive, fast-paced way that society is pushing the human body. There are more mental illnesses, there are more physical illnesses, There are more people feeling losses, more people alone, and yet we have access to phenomenal opportunities. But people are fast-paced, want quick fixes because they actually believe the PR, the promotion aspects of many, many companies and products, and don't realize that they have the ability within them to actually do the work and do the healing and do the clearing and do, anybody does, you know. I'm not saying that it's easy for people, and I'm not saying that everybody heals themselves, but I am saying that there is that possibility, the opportunity, if you choose to take it. There is a huge opportunity for people to heal themselves. And I've just done a what I call an inner script audio, and I've just done one that I've made for general, for everybody, but I actually do personal, private ones for people to do for themselves, to do specifically for themselves. But the one I've just done, which is called chakra medicine, and I want to explain the concept of medicine. Medicine nowadays is you go to the doctor, you tell him what's wrong, and he goes, if he's really good, he might ask you a few pertinent questions. But generally, he'll go, oh, okay, yeah, I think you've got, I think you're depressed. Here's a pill. Oh, I think you've got this. Here's a pill. Now, I know it's not all doctors, but it is 75% to 80% of medical conventional doctors. That's what they do. They haven't been trained in nutrition. They haven't been trained in a mindset work. They are in old practices that are no longer serving the human race. In its day, it helped with things like penicillin and stuff. Yeah, we can't deny all that. We also can't deny that if you break your leg, which I broke my ankle, if you break your ankle, going to the hospital and having something done is the right thing to do. However, I'd already started healing mine, and the doctor, the people at A&E, which I would never have gone. I might add that I'm 74 and I've not been to a doctor for 45 years.
Oh, bless you.
And so I was persuaded to go to A&E because I am 74 and the bones are not as strong, and my friends and family were worried. I said, oh, okay, I'll go. Anyway, I went, and the doctor said, it is broken, but it's healing very well, and we're not going to do anything more than what you're already doing. So medicine is generally about covering up, being a veil to what's underneath. Now, many, many years ago, medicine was interactive. The herbalist would show you how to grind the herb. The herbalist would show you how to make the tea or whatever they were giving you, and explain to hold the cup in a certain way, to maybe do a little chant or something. Medicine was interactive, and the old concept of witch doctors that some people will think is a bit offensive, but I'm only quoting just to explain. Witch doctors would teach people how to dance and how to move, good, authentic ones. And of course, you've got all of this in the background. in many, many different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Aborigines, the same. And so medicine is interactive. So if we want to be well, going and getting reflexology by someone and lying there and having it is wonderful. I love reflexology. So don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it and I fall asleep. Lovely. But it is not you being part of that interaction.
Yeah.
You are having it done to
To
you.
you.
Yeah, which is lovely. You know, having a massage, lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Ayurveda, Abhyanga, all the treatments and practices that I used to do at my clinic, I don't do them anymore, it's being done. But I can absolutely tell you, anybody that's been to my clinic and had a treatment will know that I encourage them to think differently while they were having the treatment, to chant while they were having the treatment, to be involved with what we were doing. And the problem is people are lazy. They
Yeah.
want it to happen to them.
Yeah.
And this has been lost over many years.
Yeah,
Did
it's
you
so
want to
so
say
much.
something?
There's so much into quick fixes. It's the quick fixes that deal with the symptoms to make them feel better, but the underlying, the root still is not sorted. The root of the problem is still there, and they sometimes people are. I think they're a bit concerned to address this, just kind of think of, oh, what demons may come up from me from the inside. So but it's so much because of the fast pace. It's they want the quick fix, they want it now, but it's when you want to address really your what's happening inside you, then you have to do more work, and it's not easy work as you're saying, but it will bear good fruits when you do it.
Yes.
It will be good. The outcome will be good.
Yeah. And so I do most of all my work is inner work for my clients and students. But I do one of the reasons. So in Ayurveda, and this is something that has been incredibly popular, it's the same thing as everything else. It's been made to be a quick fix, it's been made to be just thrown around. But one of the main things with Ayurveda is the concept of the energy centers within the body. There are, I think it's 320, it might be 360, I can't remember now. There are so many energy centers in the body which acupuncturists use and tap into. And EFT is also using those energy centers. But in Ayurveda, and this has been widely popularized, there are 7, 8 main energy centers. And I'm going to name them, but even naming them makes people go, oh, I know about that. So, but there are 7, 8 main energy centers in the body, which we know are called chakras.
Mhm.
And when we say chakras, everybody goes, yes, I've heard about that. I've done a little bit of work. And that's another example of just quick fixing, moving it on. And yet the understanding, the profound understanding behind these energy centers in the body is incredible. And the way working with them, interacting with them, as I've just talked about, medicine, is absolutely vital for those that want to be healthy, well, happy, content, all those things. Because each energy center has, and this is now scientifically proved, we know that there is an aura around the body. We know that there is energy at different parts of the body. This is scientifically and health proved. However, because of pharmaceutical, because of the closed system, that we work in health and well-being, it's not used. And in 50 years' time, it'll be used in all hospitals because finally somebody will get it. But the energy centers in the body, each one has its own information, its own properties, its own healing ability, its own brain, if you like, that when you interact with it, you begin to inform it to do what you want your body to do. You begin to enable the body to heal itself. And this will be familiar to some people, but familiarity, knowledge, and intelligence has no place in deeper healing within the spirit and the body. We all know now that cells in the body have their own energy, that they have their own little tiny brain. We know that when things go wrong, the cells mutate, and this is where cancer develops. We know these things. This is common knowledge. However, many people ignore it. We know that nutrition is important, yet many people ignore it, and they still go to McDonald's and they still eat the crisps and they still do what they're doing, because it's only when tragedy or something radical, or they've had enough, or they suddenly, like me at 40-ish, go, it's got to be more than this, that it then becomes the search or the journey.
Yeah.
Well, I can honestly say that the journey, there is never an end to the journey,
That's it.
but the end to the search lies in this deeply knowledgeable wisdom that's within the energy, vortexes of energy that's in your body. And that's why, so we talk about it's not easy to do inner work. Yeah, because people are scared that they're going to bring stuff from the past and things about their childhood, all that kind of stuff. So that's right, and many people are. So, but it's not scary to listen to something that's been specifically created to help you to go into these energy centers and to show you literally how to interact. And to do that every day, I would absolutely guarantee that somebody that did it every day, twice a day is brilliant, for every day for a week will feel a difference. 2 weeks, that'll start to improve. Subtle to start with, but it will. Within a month, you'll begin to feel more vital, because each energy center that we're talking about has its own job to do.
Yeah.
So it will work on the lower abdomen that's got a problem, the gut. It'll work on the heart because it's grieving or a broken heart. It'll work on the throat because you're unable to speak and speak your mind and blah, blah. It does all of this with very little effort other than a willingness to sit still, and in this case for 36 minutes, and listen and interact. There is, in all my years, 45 years of doing this work, the answer lies within.
Yeah.
And interaction within, not being passive. There's nothing wrong with meditating, lovely. I've said for many years meditation is often a distraction because people go there and they feel lovely and they just go into woo-woo land. and then just leave it like they do with reflexology, rather than actually doing some active interaction. So I meditate like everybody else. I'm still, meditate. I am quiet. I do what's called Satchitananda, which is leaving the body and the mind and just being. And that being brings us into a place of bliss. Satchitananda means truth, awareness, bliss. And so it's about the truth of who we are, being aware of who we are, and that brings us to a place of peace or bliss. And this is another example of how people know and intellectually understand that in the moment, in the now, in the being in the now is the only place that is real.
Yeah.
Many people in this industry understand that, but do they actually truly believe it? And most of the time on my workshops, we find that they intellectually understand it. They absolutely know what I'm talking about, but they don't believe in many ways that they are deserving of being connected to, and I'll say God, but it could be universal energy, if you want to call it that, could be life.
Could be the
They don't,
creator as well.
the creator, yeah.
Yeah.
That, you know, they don't believe that they deserve to be that creator, that God. So even though they understand the concept of we're all one, we're all connected, we're all this creator together, many don't actually believe it.
I believe that we all have God or a creator or something divine within us.
Yeah, well,
it was a journey until I got to that point to think that way, but I'm convinced now.
Yeah.
Also with explorations with or exchanges with people from other cultures and stuff like that. So
yeah,
there was
absolutely. Yeah. And so my Ayurveda has many practices, many treatments, many things to help the body to heal and bring into balance. But the main premise of Ayurveda is preventative.
Yeah.
And preventative is about doing, so you go and have a cup of tea in the morning, a bowl of cereal or yogurt or whatever it is you have, a glass of lemon juice, whatever it is you have that, you sit and have it for 30 minutes. That doesn't matter, 15, 20, 30 minutes. You do the same with your lunch or your evening meal. You might go for a walk and enjoy the scenery. Well, on top of that, imagine in this instance, in this chakra medicine tape that I've done, but it could be something else, imagine 36 minutes every day is like your food for the inner world. And doing that every day is completely preventative and also wonderfully healing.
That sounds really, really good, that what you created there. And I'm sure it will be well worth implementing into the daily schedule as some morning ritual. It sounds like it's something you check in with every one of the energy centers to see if they're, how they are and to make sure that they're okay. Something along those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, it's that's the voice of somebody that has done the inner work and knows what might happen. But in this chakra medicine tape. It's about connecting, chanting with it, doing the energy with each center. And the more you do that, then you would find the ability to be able to check in. Because many people won't even understand or feel any part of the body, let alone the 7 centers of the body. So it's about enabling people to learn, connect, and then experience the energy changes by doing this every day. I say to people, to start off, you should do the audio every single day for 2 weeks. If you're ill and you want to heal yourself, you should be doing it twice a day. So I say every day for generally to connect and to preventative, every day for 2 weeks. And then you could move to, I mean, I love doing it and many of my clients do, so I just do it anyway. I do it as soon as I think, oh, I'm going to do some inner healing. So every day for 2 weeks. If you're ill, twice a day. And then you could move it to 3 times a week for a few weeks. So kind of 4 to 6 weeks, which is a common number for people to take something on and for the body to change. And then you could look at it once a week. The minute you start going, oh, that's it, I've had enough, well, then we go back to that conversation we had earlier where people think they've done it and they move on.
Yeah, but it's really, prevention is really an ongoing process, though.
Absolutely.
It's
right.
not something that you do for a while. Oh yeah, now I feel okay, and then you leave it. But then stuff, the dust or whatever, toxins or whatever, starts gathering again, and then you have to start again at some point. So rather,
Exactly.
it's better to keep it as an ongoing process, isn't it?
That's absolutely right. And of course, let's remember what Ayurveda means, the science of living. And as long as we're alive, Ayurveda tells us there is a deeper science and energy that is within us and that we can interact with.
What I find important as well is that thing, it can be scientifically proved now. Everything that, as part of Ayurveda, that there's some science back behind it as well, because people are so, oh, science, is that scientific, blah, blah, blah. I'm not one of those. I know that there are, and I believe that there are things out there that science can't explain, that works, but that science can't explain. Maybe not yet, but maybe never. It's just something that there is.
Well, hopefully science remains unable to prove that there is a creator.
Yes, I hope so too, to be honest. Because considering those on top, on the very top, that try and dictate us now how we have to live, or how they want us to live, let us say it like that, that it wouldn't be in the good hands.
Well, that's absolutely right. I mean, science has already proven that within the ether, within the field in the cosmos, they've already proven that there are particles there that have energy, that actually have some kind of knowledge that they can't unwrap yet. But let's hope they never do.
Yeah, exactly, totally. Yeah, and it's nice how you made the link to Satchitananda. Sorry, Satchitananda. That I pronounce it properly. Because that was something that I was going to ask you next, but you've woven that in really nicely.
Well, I mean, it's impossible not to,
Yeah,
Elke, because it's what I live with, it's what I work with, and it's what is the foundation of Ayurveda and everything I do. So it's impossible not to bring it in.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would want to add with regards to brain and mind? Because there's, I mean, everything really, what you were saying is kind of linking in, because it is all connected, and it is all, there is nothing that's kind of separate. So, but just in case there's anything else I'm missing out.
Not really. No, not really. The whole, as I said earlier, we all know that we are whole from an intellectual and knowledge point of view. And so people might try and change the diet. They'll go and do exercises, and they'll try and have treatments, lovely treatments. But the essential thing that brings us to our wholeness is our belief system, our mind, and how we work with it. And that's what we do when we're tapping in to this inner energy that is within all of us. So none of it can be separate because it's impossible. But the more we bring the attention to our inner world and understand ourselves and be aware of how our mind and our belief systems are running us, the more we can actually heal ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. And it's important as well to understand as well how how people attempt to manipulate others, to
Oh,
understand
yeah.
those techniques and what they're doing, what they're trying to do, and to be aware of that, and kind of work against that in a way by just, doing our own thing, controlling what we can control, and be in tune with ourselves. That's I think the main thing is being in tune with ourselves, taking 100% responsibility as well for our action and how we react to other things, other people.
And I think, yeah, and I think that's the point I was making earlier. If we are willing to work with the main energy centers in the body that have a purpose, we will not be then manipulated by others.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's we're manipulated by others because somewhere within us we're following a belief system that is affected or triggered by that person that's manipulating us, because it reminds us of our dad or wherever, or whatever the past belief system is. But if we are working on our energy systems, that then begins to be a protection, a bringing courage from the solar plexus, the willpower to say, no, I'm not having this. Just learning how to say something, or learning how to behave differently, is very, very different to the body actually being able to do it because it's in a place of sat, chit, and anda.
Yeah.
I've got a master's degree in psychotherapy. I'm a qualified psychotherapist, and I use some of the psychotherapeutic concepts with clients, but it's 20%, if that, and that's just about the being able to ask the right questions and that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
the 80% is enabling people to connect to what is their most powerful advocate, their most powerful mentor, their most powerful guide, and that is within the energy centers in the body. We can talk all day to a client,
Yes.
and it'll to clients, and it'll make no difference other than they leave and think, oh, she's on my wavelength, she understands me, that was interesting. The job is to help people to see how powerful that they can be within themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. How would you get, or how, what kind of age would you think would be good to start a journey like that? Would it be good
Children,
to start with? Yeah, that that would have been the next question. Would it be good to start with children?
I used to go into schools and do any work with children,
All right. Okay.
and they absolutely take it on immediately.
Mm, mm. Like
Yeah,
primary school age.
yeah. And
Brilliant.
above, I've done both
Yeah, yeah. But
in my time.
I suppose starting them early will kind of help to lay the foundation, so to speak. It's a bit, I would have thought it was a bit more difficult when they're later on, when they're from 11 onwards, when they become teenagers, and then
Well,
within the brain and the hormones, there starts to be some developments going that might make
yeah,
them a
but
little
what
bit
we're
rebellious.
talking about energy, Elke.
Hmm.
I've done it with teenagers
Hmm.
and done it with primary school. Absolutely. We're talking
Hmm.
about energy. As
Hmm.
long as you are giving them uh, tools that enable them to feel better about themselves, you can do it for any age group.
Mm. I think, yeah, what you've got to offer should be going on the curriculum in the schools,
Absolutely, yeah,
because
yeah,
it's even now it is even more needed than
yeah,
ever before. It is so much needed.
yeah, absolutely.
Can I divert away? But are you still doing these body scans? I have to explain to people. I did a body scan with Linda years ago, and it was very insightful, and it can be done remotely. Um, do you want to talk a little bit about that if you're still doing it?
Yeah, I still do the body sonic scans. So you send very, very small sample of your hair, and a nail cutting is good as well.
Mm.
You send that, and I put it through the body sonic scan, and it gives us all the information that we need to understand the energetics of the organs and the skin, everything. It's absolutely fascinating. It
Mm.
still fascinates me even now, and I've been doing it for a long time. So it's remote. People send it through the post, and then I do a um, Zoom with them and talk to them about what's happened and what's going on and that kind of thing. And
Yeah,
then I advise them what to do as well.
mhm. I think that's a really good thing to do as well. And it is it still different? There was two different ones, wasn't there? There was one.
Yeah, I don't do different ones anymore.
All right.
I used to do different ones,
Mm-hmm.
but the reality is that the scan does the scan,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about my time and having to go through the scan and having to interpret
Mm-hmm.
that was different. So now I just do a complete, full, comprehensive, full body scan. It takes me about 3 to 5 days to do,
Mm-hmm.
and then I do the consultation. And what I didn't do when I did yours was that I also, when I now do the scan, see, because that was the problem when I had different um, types of scan,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't cover what I now cover. And
Okay.
people used to say, oh, I would have liked to have known about that. But it then takes me another day longer to go through the scan and that
Mm.
kind of thing. So
Yeah.
what I didn't do, and so I used to do a short in time body scan that I think was 95 or £150, something like that. I used to do a short body scan, but now I don't do that anymore because it's if you like, it began to feel like I wasn't giving them people the full service,
Yeah.
and I couldn't do that without examining the scan for 3-4 days, and that meant I was 3-4 days working on it.
Yeah.
So I decided I wasn't going to do any more smaller scans. I do a full comprehensive body scan, and what it does include, which people really like, is the interpretation of why, for example, the liver is not doing well, or the heart is wrong, or the knees are something's wrong. So I do an interpretation of why that's happening, when it started. So, if you like, it's not unlike something, although I use a scan to do it, so it's much more accurate and more connected to you. It's like, so, I mean, I've got one here that I could just describe. So here's for somebody else. So here's somebody that's got kidney problems.
Okay.
And so we looked at the scan, and I went through the emotional aspects of it and the energy aspects of it. And it represents this particular client having deep-seated unresolved fears, anxiety, a lack of trust in themselves, believing in themselves, also having a fear and being kind of insecure in their relationships. And there's loads more. But it then gives the client, and this person that I did this for just said that's absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Wow.
And so that means we can do some inner work based upon these
The
findings.
findings. Yeah. Yeah.
So, so I didn't do that at the beginning because it's really time consuming. And to do that for, 9,900 quid when I'd already done the whole scan, just wasn't,
Yeah.
just wasn't worth it. And
Yeah.
I also didn't feel that giving just the outcome of the scan from a physical perspective is fabulous and is fascinating, but because my work is really all about energy, it felt that I wasn't serving the client by giving them the energetics
Yeah. Yeah.
emotionally and from an inner perspective. So now so I do scans still and do them exactly as I did before, but I do it over a much longer period and I cover these issues. So when somebody sends me a hair sample, it's usually a week if we're lucky, or a fortnight before I can run it.
And with the hair sample, can you remind people if they need to have the root attached or if it's just a normal?
No. They can even just brush the hair and take a few strands from their
Okay.
brush and just pop it into an envelope.
Right.
They must not do it next to a pet. They mustn't let somebody else touch the hair because it's from their own DNA.
Right.
And so I generally tell them to cut a tiny little snipping from the end of the hair. It doesn't matter if the hair's dyed, or from the hairbrush, and just drop it straight into a clean tissue, fold it immediately so nobody else touches it, and then
Touches it.
pop that in the envelope.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Yeah. Now I can recommend getting a scan done. I know you're doing it more where's the word?
Comprehensive.
Comprehensive. Thank you.
Yeah.
Little brain gap.
Yeah.
So, but that's great. I would recommend to get one done because it can be very insightful, and with Linda's knowledge, and the opportunity to do some inner work afterwards. It will be very much worth it.
Yeah, thank you.
What are you? I know as well. You relocated from Wales to Chester now, haven't you?
Yes,
And
yes.
you've got a lovely place that I've seen on social media.
Yeah.
You,
Whitefriars House.
Whitefriars House. What are you doing any services, any offerings from that place as well?
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to be, I'm going to be doing intimate events where I'll introduce Ayurveda to people. I'll do intimate inner work, so some chakra medicine specifically with people in a group. I'll be doing events where I'll be cooking Ayurveda food that people can book in and come to. So lots of things going to be happening there.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Anyway, yeah, we're coming to the end of the episode, and I think I've touched on quite a few things that you're doing. Is there anything else that you want to promote, or how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I would say that on Facebook and Instagram, you've got my website, all the same name, At Home with Ayurveda. So they can just look. There's no other ones called At Home with Ayurveda, so they can go to At Home with Ayurveda. That's my website, and and also just Linda Bretherton. If you want it, my website is under At Home with Ayurveda and Linda Bretherton. So
Right.
one or the other will get you there. But on Facebook, it's Linda Bretherton. And then I have a group called At Home with Ayurveda, exactly the same on Instagram. But I've also got Whitefriars House. House is spelled Haus. It's a
German word.
German word.
Yes.
Whitefriars House on Instagram. You can see what I'm doing there. But generally, I'm on LinkedIn, Linda Bretherton. I'm kind
Okey-doke.
of all over the place.
Yeah, well, that's brilliant. At least I will put the links in the show notes as well. That people can just click on the links. Quick fixes. And and it was so nice to have you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge. And it's I love the deep stuff. I love the deep
Yeah,
stuff. I know
yeah.
I kind of got a lot of knowledge from you, and I'm also into the Hawaiians, you know what they are about their
Yeah,
culture and their some
yeah,
of
the
their teaching and healings and stuff.
Ho'oponopono. Yeah,
Ho'oponopono, yeah. Yeah, it's with the Ho'oponopono, it's more like the I tend more towards the traditional way of, the original, not what Joe Vitale and Hugh Len,
yeah.
Ihale Hugh Len have done to it. They've kind of abbreviated or shortened it. Or Mona Simeona was the one actually who she's westernized it a little bit. But it's a very deep rooted culture as well. And I'm just tending towards the deep stuff. I seek the deep wisdom and, not just the surface stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you again so much, Linda. And
Well, thank you for having me.
you're very welcome. And see you again in the next episode.
Thank you very much, Elke. Bye bye.
Bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.